I mean, I will point out that Gerard had pointed out last time that they would be discussing other issues, and of course at this point, if it's not going to be done, council may want to consider just consolidating this with a number of other parking initiatives, but I guess the committee will determine that. Yeah. Okay.
Anything else?
I will be circulating among council. I did bring with me tonight, I didn't have a chance to circulate it before the meeting, a draft of a noise ordinance that had come up again at the work session, and this is going to be something open to council, and I would encourage you all to take a look at it. It is a draft based on the ordinance in another municipality. I already have a few comments of things I'd want to change in there and modify, but I wanted to use this as a starting point to get discussions going on revisions to the current zoning noise ordinance. So I'll hand that out before the meeting ends.
Okay, so we'll put that on the January work session agenda to
Yeah.
discuss. Okay. Any questions for solicitor?
I just wanted to suggest we make note of something that was discussed at work session and led to part of the discussion on the parking permits, and that was the offer by Alan Smith, who owns or controls in a fashion the parking spaces behind the state store we've been talking about, and there was an offer made to the borough for those spaces to be used by the borough, and that's how we're talking about having the extra spaces available for our purposes in the next several years, if that is the time it takes for him to develop. So I don't think that was part of the discussion on the genesis for why those spaces are even available, but that's why they are, and we appreciate the offer, I think, that he has made to the borough in that regard.
And I have reached out to Alan, and I will be following up to make sure that he and I have a chance to speak, and I'll report back at the work session with hopefully some information on what we can do to memorialize some ongoing agreement.
Okay. Any old business?
Yes, go ahead. I just wanted to go through what we all agreed and voted on at the work session. That is the Linton Park, I guess, refurbishment and replacement. The Peaceable Kingdom structure will be replaced, and it's going to be coming up pretty quickly, probably within the next 6 weeks. We've also approved the removal of the small tire and the swing set that is currently at the park. The timelines were moved up to January, early February for the replacement of the actual play system in Peaceable Kingdom due to some of the residents' concerns about having the equipment or having lack of equipment during a certain period of time. I did get some recommendations, and Mike, I know we had some residents recommend as well as putting up some signage, making the residents aware of some of the dates that will probably have tighter and better ideas for these dates. Maybe in early January we can get that signage up. And then for Brian Gregg, the arch climber that needed to be replaced has been shipped and we have possession of it. What we're going to do is work with the installer that's going to be installing the Peaceable Kingdom equipment and put the arch climber in at the same time, so we don't have to hire an installer to come out just to install a ladder at Brian Gregg. So the time frames are close. It's January. The park should be, the amount of time that's not usable is probably about a week to 10 days, depending on the weather in January or February, but everything should turn around pretty quickly.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Any other old business?
Yeah, like your comment regarding the work being done on Center Bridge triggered this thought, and I think we all appreciate the work that's being done there, but the Newtown Creek Coalition was under the umbrella of the Newtown Corporation, if memory serves me correctly. And we've been fussing for these many months with respect to the Newtown Corporation, and when you mentioned that some of your volunteers were going to actively work on the bridge, what structure is there for the coalition to allow that to happen? And I think we had to cover a meeting for them last year from a liability standpoint, and I'm concerned that the coalition all of a sudden is becoming a borough enterprise, and it's really not a borough enterprise. While the borough benefits from it, it's really not one of our committees, and I think you're the only one that actively serves on it and reports on it. And it might be worthwhile if we did a review of this in January, so...
Well, we can do it now. Let me give you the update. And you're welcome to attend our meetings on the third Saturday of every month at Borough Hall. The organization was part of the Newtown Corporation, so the corporation had the formality of a corporate structure within which the coalition worked until, I guess, December 10th or 12th of last year, when the changes occurred that, as you say, we've been grappling with or whatever since. The coalition was summarily told then for apparently liability purposes, and it would no longer be under that umbrella, as you call it. The coalition itself is moving to a formal structure of a nonprofit in Pennsylvania, and there will be an announcement shortly which has a coalition filed as a Section 501c3 corporation, much the same way as the Newtown Corporation is and many other nonprofits. So we'll have the formality of structure, we'll have the ability to do those things that a nonprofit does, including obtaining liability insurance as needed and representing itself as an entity towards the borough, towards the township, and frankly towards the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, which is looking for these type organizations to work with. So I think the concern you're expressing will be addressed very shortly. It's taken this long, 4 years, to actually reach a juncture where a formal structure can be put in place, but that's happening as we speak. The paperwork is prepared. The contributions have been made for all the necessary fees, and certainly sometime towards the end of even this month or early next month, it's going to be formed, and I'll be happy to report that to council.
Because you had mentioned last time you thought, when we were talking about the grant, that the township, along with the borough, had its responsibility, but you also thought the Newtown Corporation had some responsibilities. Was that prior to December, or do you feel that's something that's contingently responsible going forward?
As a practical matter, it's all prior to December of last year, because the Newtown Corporation made very clear they wanted nothing to do with the coalition, so all its efforts ceased abruptly at that point. The coalition went on, and the corporation did not do anything. So all its, when I say it's, the corporation's efforts and its contributions to that grant predate the new management taking over, but the contributions before the new management were significant, and they do form part of the grant paperwork. And to your point, the Heritage Conservancy, the consultant on the project, has reviewed all that, and everything's in order.
Good, thank you.
Any other old business?
Actually, with reference to the Newtown Corporation, John and I were to have met with representatives of the Newtown Corporation and the Newtown Township Board of Supervisors this evening. Over the weekend, I got an email.
Wasn't, oh, right.
Well, this at 5:30, evening, afternoon. Yeah. And I got an email over the weekend from Mr. Tyrall. It was an email chain that culminated in canceling the meeting, ostensibly due to the unavailability of one of the township supervisors. So we're going to look to reschedule a meeting for January. I did, however, meet this morning with representatives of the Friends Home to discuss the contribution in lieu of real estate tax issue that we discussed at the work session, and we had a nice meeting, broached the subject. I don't think they were, it's fair to say that they were not really receptive to the concept of increasing their contribution right now, but it's something that we may discuss further in the future.
Thanks. Any other old business?
Since we're talking about the Newtown Corporation, we did talk at work session. I thought I'd mention this evening the costs incurred by the borough with the parade. I think there were $640 some, and at the time that we had considered this application last year, I think it was. We had determined that the borough would absorb the costs of police protection and police participation in it. Since then, the parade has come under the management of the Newtown Corporation, which, according to reports, was flush enough with cash to pay $1,000 to each of the participating bands in the parade. And it strikes me that it's appropriate for us to then send a bill for the police services to the Newtown Corporation, asking them to reimburse us for those, because clearly they're able to do so from a financial standpoint, which is a changed circumstances, set of circumstances from when we made it a cost we would absorb when it was approved originally. So I bring that up this evening. In some ways, it's not a lot of money. In other ways, it's money that we need not absorb. And it's further my understanding Newtown Township is being paid or reimbursed for its police services to the parade, so that seems to only support the idea that we also be reimbursed for those costs.
I know we were supposed to ask for that commitment or that agreement today, but they canceled the meeting on us. I'm sure that if the township, maybe it's just the case that we didn't ask them to reimburse us because originally it wasn't in our agreement. But you brought up a good point about the question you brought up at the work session. Were there borough businesses that were sponsors of the parade? And Tina actually had attached all of this in her information, and there were several that were part of the parade. Committee members were borough residents. Sponsors were borough businesses. A lot of members or residents of the borough were in the parade. So I know that was a question that you had brought up, but this is attached in her email. So that was the case.
You know, the Corp can call it a donation. They can pay it as a bill. I don't care what they call it, so long as they pay us back.
Yeah, again, I don't think we've asked them to. So.
Well, the bigger question is, did we tell them that we were not going to charge them a fee? I mean,
Well, that's.
there's a plan.
It is.
I mean, our police department meets with them regularly, and,
Right.
and what was the discussion that took place there? And did we execute the policy that was in place a year ago? That would be my question.
That they
And
filled,
did,
right.
in fact, you're saying the township is paying?
That's my understanding, yes.
So I think we should find out from Tony or from Dennis
Right.
whether or not we waive the fee before we go shoot ourselves in the foot.
I believe the original application that was made for the parade by it was the business association, not the corporation, and in that case, the fee
Yeah, I
was
understand
waived.
it. But my point
But then
is
the application was taken over by the...
taken over by the Newtown
Well,
Corporation, and they would have met prior.
But it
to
was
the
a
parade.
separate application.
I guess, I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's just make sure we got
Think
good
so.
technicals.
However,
Yeah.
if we're asking them for a donation, we're
Well,
outside of that, right?
that's to Mike's part, if it's a donation, fine. If it's a bill, it might be a different,
Right.
a horse of a different color.
That's a good point.
Well, if you're paying each band $1,000, I don't know what kind of horse that is, but they can certainly afford
Everybody in town invited.
they can certainly afford to pay the $600 bill for the very critical and well-done services of our borough police department.
Determined to get that generator money yet.
I absolutely. You know, fiscal responsibility is a hallmark of this council, Bob. You should know that.
And,
Mike.
but I think you bring up a good point, and we were going to discuss this, or I was going to discuss this today at the meeting, if we were to meet with the Newtown Corporation. With all of this that we've discussed throughout the whole year, it's what value do they bring to Newtown Borough? I mean, we just had a rather large, pretty nice parade, and if it's going to cost $675, I think that's a pretty good deal. However, I do think that if we did ask them ahead of time, if the township's police department is being compensated, I don't see why we have a very good cause to ask as well.
Well, let me bring it to a head then, and I'll make the motion that we send the billing for the police services, I think it's $642, to the...
662 something. I
I'm
can get the
sorry.
exact figure for you.
But I'll move that we send the invoice for the cost of police services for the parade to the Newtown Corporation with a request that they reimburse the borough. And they can write back with a note and say it's a donation, and that's fine.
Second that.
Okay, any further discussion?
I guess we have to go back to the actual form they filled out, correct? I mean, if the form said it's waiving the fee, how are we going to then go back and say, I don't know, I mean-
I would need more facts before I could vote on that
Right.
way.
I have a motion on the
Call the
floor.
vote.
that's
Well,
fine.
my suggestion is that that we let them know what the costs for providing the service were, and to request, in the spirit of whatever, that the Newtown Corporation make a donation to the Newtown Police Department of that amount to cover the costs of the parade. And then it's a donation. We're not billing them, which we can't do, I don't believe, based on our previous resolution. But we can certainly ask for their generosity at this time for a service that the borough provided.
I'll accept that as an amendment to my motion.
Okay,
And I'll amend my second.
all right.
What are we doing?
My other question is, who should this letter come from? Should it come from Borough President, Borough Council President, or should it come from the liaisons to the Newtown Corporation?
Had we had the meeting today, we would have asked, and John and I talked about it. I thought we were fairly confident that would have just worked,
That it
would have
worked
just
out.
worked out. I'd prefer to try it informally
Okay.
first.
Yeah,
Call the
just throw
motion.
it out there. Yeah.
You wanna withdraw?
Look,
I'm okay with the
No,
motion, but
let me
you
finish.
asked what letter or
in all candor, again, this is not real complicated. They can pay $1,000 each of the bands. They can reimburse the township. They can pay us. We've had a whole year of frankly, a lack of responsiveness from this group. Vacancies now, I dare say, we can't fill. And we have financials which now go back several months, which are incomplete and are certainly not current. So however we package this is fine. And if you guys want to take it back and say, look, would you pay it as, I don't really care so long as we get paid. So if you are confident, if you, Perry, and you, John, are confident that we will get our $660 back, I will withdraw my motion, and I'll rely upon your belief that that's going to be paid.
That's really putting us on the spot. But in terms of how to handle it, I would initially, the question is whether it would be a letter from council or from the liaison. So I'd at least initially say, prefer that John and I raise the subject before sending a formal letter on behalf of council. I'll vote for your motion, but I think I prefer the mechanism of raising the subject rather than...
I have such confidence in you, too, and your powers of persuasion, and that right is on your side. That I will withdraw my motion totally. I think the point's been made.
What was on our side?
Right.
Right was on our side?
Quick, before the lights go out, we need a generator. Let's go. All right, so motion has been withdrawn. Okay. So we are,
I think the idea is we send them, we first have Perry and John talk to them and let them know that a letter is coming.
okay. All right.
Could be coming.
All right. So do you want to leave your motion on the floor? You want to vote for it?
Sure.
All right. There's a motion on the floor. Any further discussion?
What is the motion, right?
Okay. Would you like to restate your motion?
No. I think the original motion was to prepare and send the invoice with an accompanying letter from Council President to the Newtown Corporation requesting reimbursement of the police costs for the parade in the amount of whatever it is.
660 some dollars. and
Some dollars.
Some cents, yeah.
Was that what you seconded?
That's what I second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion. Okay. One opposed. Motion carries. Okay. Okay, any other old business? Any new business? Okay, does public wish to be heard? Okay, we have an executive session. Do we expect to come back from this? Possible. Okay. We will be not adjourning, we will be going into executive session, a brief executive session. We may be coming out of it, well, we will come out of it to either adjourn or to make a motion, so.
We're going, any other? Unrelated.
Certainly. Okay, let's see.